Moving on to task 3 now. Let's just remind ourselves of what it asks. Prepare briefing notes for the finance director. Okay, so we know the format, we know the audience. Part A, discuss the opportunities and threats to Optima of implementing big data analytics to assist in improving engagement with its members. 12 marks. So a couple of things to highlight here. The first is the word discuss. In other words, don't simply state the opportunities and threats. Second, we have, again, the opportunity to use these words from the question as subheadings. So we'll have one subheading opportunities to Optima, the other threats to Optima. The third point to state is implementing big data analytics. Now, big data is a topic that comes up quite regularly, and therefore many of the advantages that big data offers should come immediately to mind. For example, the availability of up-to-date information. For example, the opportunity using big data analytics to identify trends and connections between variables which we had not previously seen. All right, so those are fairly big standard advantages of analytics. But please remember that the question isn't asking us what the advantages and disadvantages are. It is asking us to discuss the opportunities. So, in other words, how are we going to use those advantages and disadvantages in the context of an opportunity or a threat to Optima? In terms of the immediate disadvantage, and this would apply to any IT-related program, we would start to think about the risk of hacking, data corruption, data loss, and so on. Okay, so again, fairly standard disadvantage or risk with big data analytics. And the question asks how we can use the analytics to assist in improving engagement. All right, so this is the theme of the task. Okay, so it's not just about advantages and disadvantages, it's not just about opportunities and threats of big data analytics. It is about how do we use it to improve engagement. It's very specific, and if you're not careful, especially under exam conditions, very easy to miss that. Okay, so just highlighting that, and we'll go through my points in a second. Next thing to note, 12 marks, so we know that there are 6 points required. Well, that's nice and easy to divide, so we're looking for 3 opportunities at 2 points each, and the same for threats. All right? Now, how long do we have? Well, it's the 12 technical marks. Now, there are 4 professional skills marks available for this question. The professional skills apply to both parts of the question, parts A and B, and therefore we shall assume that 2 of those 4 professional skills marks will be allocated for part A, which gives us 14 minutes at 1.8 and tells us the finishing time for part A of the question. Okay, so now going into our answer. The format, briefing notes from to date subject. As I say, standard format, use it all the time. It's just easier. You don't need to think about it. Yeah, just put it in automatically. Just make sure that you write at the top that this is a briefing note or a memo or a report and so on. Okay, so just do it like that. The only thing I remind you is that with a report we will need an introduction and summary or recommendation. Okay. With the other documents, we do not. Right, so going on down, part A, opportunities. I've used that as a subheading. And here are my three opportunities. The first one, the use of continually updated data to identify trends in customer usage of our facilities, so allowing us to provide sufficient resources to meet changing needs. Well, so far so good, but this is a fact. It is not really answering the question. All right, the question is, how does it improve our relationships with our customers? And that is what I say in the next part of this point, thereby meeting customer demand and strengthening relationships. Okay, that's the opportunity. Second one, identify connections between previously unrelated variables, for example, weather and people's attendance at the clubs. Allows us to make special offers, and here I just made something up. For example, free wet afternoon swimming classes, okay, something like that, which perhaps our members would enjoy on a wet afternoon. And here is again the opportunity for strengthening relationships, giving customers the opportunity to socialize in bad weather conditions. Okay, and again, this is helping our engagement and answering the question. The third point, reshape our membership offers according to usage of facilities. For example, if the gym is the most heavily used facility, then offer gym-only membership, which means that people will not have to purchase a full membership package only to use the gym. This will convey the impression of packages tailored to people's needs. So again, I focus at the end with how this helps our engagement with our members. Moving on to threats. Well, data loss or corruption by viruses or hackers will destroy the trust of customers and ruin our engagement. So again, referring to engagement with customers. Notice you have to be doing this throughout your answer to show the marker that you're answering the question. It may also lay us open to legal action if it can be shown that we were negligent in storing this data. We must therefore invest in strong internal controls to protect the data, including written security procedures and training. So we're going a little bit beyond the remit of this question. We're showing off our knowledge of internal controls here. If we have time in the exam, we will do it. If we don't, we won't. Right? Lack of technical expertise may result in investment in suboptimal analytic software. So what I'm trying to say in my point here is we don't know anything about this, and we might pick the wrong software. And if we do that, that could cause all sorts of confusion in terms of the decisions we would make from its analytics. This would be an ineffective use of our funds, and to avoid this, we should invest in IT expertise. This may be expensive in the short term, but likely to be cost-effective over the strategic term. Okay? So we're identifying analytics as a strategic resource, and we are saying that it must be thought of in that way, rather than how expensive is it going to be this year. And my third threat, as well as the costs of investing in the software and the subsequent updating and training costs that we will need to incur, this will be a time-consuming exercise. It is also likely to require a dedicated project management resource. This may detract valuable management time away from serving customers, which may result in suboptimal service. So again, going back to how this might undermine the quality of our engagement with our members. Okay, hope that is clear. The thing to really highlight on this is the format, the number of points that we make, and constantly ensuring that we're actually answering the question rather than simply talking about opportunities and threats without relating them to the impact on our engagement with members. Moving on to part B of this question, it requires us to discuss the benefits for both Optima and its members of using mobile technology to market and deliver its services. 8 marks. Now again, we notice the word discuss, alright, so we know what that means. We've already discussed it. The second word is benefits only this time, not threats and opportunities, not benefits and weaknesses, benefits only. But again, there are two parts to our response. The first is benefits for Optima, and the second is benefits for its members. Now, it doesn't really matter, whether you give half of the number of points you make as benefits to Optima and the other half as benefits to members. All right, as long as you do talk about both, okay? As long as you do talk about both. And moving on, how do we, what are the benefits of using this technology to market and deliver its services? So we need to talk about using this technology to market our services and also deliver. All right? So please make sure that you address both, and you should be highlighting these words. Okay? So a deceptively complex question. There's quite a lot of detail in there that we need to bear in mind when crafting our answers. Now, 8 marks, we know by now, means 4 points. And this is our finishing time, 11:26, based on the 8 plus 2. Yes, 2 of the 4 professional marks. Remember, we talked about that in part A. All right, so that's our finishing time. Professional skills marks are available for demonstrating skepticism skills. Now, just a general rule or suggestion, actually, for earning professional skills marks, and that is use the word of the professional skill. So in this example, in this question, the word is skepticism. Use the name, the noun, or the verb, in your answer. Say, I am skeptical about this. Or if the professional skill is analysis, you would use the word analysis. So having analyzed, all right? Same with evaluation and so on. So my evaluation of this plan is, okay? So just the impact of that is that A, it reminds you what you need to be doing, all right, and demonstrating in your answer, and it also shows the marker that you are earning your professional skills marks, okay? Demonstrating skepticism skills in questioning the opinions and assertions made in the meeting about the use of big data analytics and mobile technology, presenting evidence to challenge these in a professional way. So now this is important. It's not something that has been identified in the questions themselves, and that's why the bit on professional skills is important. And professional way, remember you're talking to the board of directors, and therefore the tone, style, and content of your response must reflect that. Okay, so again, surprisingly challenging question. Surprising not because it's a strategic professional exam question. So in that sense, it's not surprising. You expect it to be challenging. But surprising in the sense that at first glance, it looks quite innocent and straightforward. And it is not. Right? And that's why I make such a big fuss about analyzing the tasks carefully in the first hour. Right, so let's move into our answers. So part B, clearly identifying which part of the question you're answering, I beg your pardon. Benefits of mobile technology. Instantaneous feedback from customers will be accessible on online forums, which can assist Optima in becoming immediately aware of problems and responding accordingly, thereby improving the reactivity of the club to members and making them feel that they are being heard. Now again, please see, it's not just about what Optima can do with mobile technology, but why it is a benefit to Optima. All right? ATQ. It's a benefit because it allows Optima to react. Number 2, targeted communication with members of online groups, for example, tennis club, allowing the delivery of information on special events or offers to bolster the engagement with members and increase revenues. All right, so we have an online group in the mobile app, all right, and we can engage with them with very specific items and increase the engagement and amount that they spend with us. All right, so this is the marketing, and this is an advantage for the club, as is the previous one. Let's move on to number 3, access to live online or recorded exercise or diet programs, allowing members continuous engagement with the club, thereby strengthening the relationship and increasing retention. So now we're talking about a benefit to members. Yes, the opportunity to have exercise regimes and dietary advice on the go. They don't have to go to an Optima club to get this. Okay, so there's a benefit for the members. And number 4, a revenue earning opportunity to sell advertising to providers of related goods. So this is a marketing benefit, which the question asks about, yes. A marketing benefit to sell advertising to providers of related goods and services, for example, health food stores supplementing the services that we offer at the same time. All right, so it's a marketing and revenue-based benefit. Okay, so there you go, market and deliver its services. Right, now I've put in a summary to my answer here. Remember, there are summaries not required unless this is a report. If you have time to put in a summary, feel free to do so. If you don't worry, you're not going to lose marks. You're not going to lose your professionalism marks. It is not a requirement. I put it in simply because it's quite a long answer, and I believe that putting a summary in which combines or integrates the two answers would be useful. But as I say, only do it if you have time. In summary, although data analytics software is new and carries challenges, it has the advantage of providing live, up-to-date information, which allows us to resolve problems and better serve customer needs before they decide to leave. At the moment, the exit interviews we conduct, although providing useful feedback, give us information when it is already too late to respond. You know, exit interviews are great, but you can't do anything about it by then, right? We want to know before the problems arise and resolve them. And in that way does not help retention or customer service quality. Retention is the big theme in this whole case study, and exit interviews don't help that. So we're reminding the marker that we know this, okay? Similarly, mobile technology is perhaps more widely used across older age groups than some may believe. So here I'm being skeptical. Yeah, but we know that some of the directors believe that mobiles, older people don't use mobile phones. And I suspect that those directors are wrong. But you notice that I'm being quite diplomatic in the terminology that I'm using, in the words that I'm using. Okay, smartphones are ubiquitous, and I am skeptical. Oh, there I go. There's a professional skills word there. I am skeptical of the opinion that older members do not want to or do not know how to use them. Signed, Analyst. Okay, so again, quite a detailed question. All right, quite an in-depth question, and a question you need to be careful on to make sure that you're constantly answering it. All right, so let's move on to task number 4.